The storm rattled the stained glass windows of St. Augustine's Cathedral, lightning flashing across the vaulted ceiling. The guests had already gathered, their whispers echoing under the vast dome, when the bride walked slowly down the aisle. Her gown shimmered white against the shadows, but her face was pale, her hands trembling. Because the groom was missing. Minutes before the ceremony, Eleanor Hayes had received a note slipped beneath the church door. Just 5 words written in jagged ink. Run before it's too late. She froze, her bouquet shaking in her grip. No one else seemed to notice the stranger standing in the back, half hidden in the flickering candlelight. His coat was soaked with rain, his eyes dark and piercing, fixed on her every step. He looked like a vagrant, a drifter, yet there was something about him that made her stomach twist with dread. When the priest asked the guests to rise, the heavy oak doors slammed shut. The sound boomed like thunder, and suddenly the air grew cold. Some whispered it was the storm. Eleanor wasn't so sure. The man stepped forward, his shoes dragged across the marble, water dripping from his sleeves, leaving a dark trail behind him. The guests shifted nervously, some even laughing at the absurdity of his intrusion. But no one laughed when the candles nearest to him flickered out, one by one. His voice was low, almost a growl, when he finally spoke. This wedding cannot continue. Every eye turned to him. The priest stammered, demanding he leave. But Eleanor couldn't move, couldn't breathe, because she recognized him. Not his face, not his ragged clothes, but his eyes. She had seen them before, staring at her from the window of her childhood home on the night her parents died in the fire. The night she had been told was an accident. The stranger smiled slowly, as though reading her thoughts. You know who I am. The cathedral erupted into chaos. Guests screamed as the storm outside shattered a window, glass spraying across the pews. Some rushed to the doors only to find them locked from the outside. Eleanor dropped her bouquet, her heartbeat a drum in her ears. The man kept walking, each step deliberate, unstoppable. Your groom is gone because I sent him away, he said. I came for you. The priest clutched his cross, muttering prayers, but his voice was drowned out by the shrieking wind now howling through the broken glass. Eleanor wanted to run, but her legs betrayed her. The memory of the fire, the screams, the shadow outside her window, it all came back. And now the shadow had stepped fully into the light. He wasn't here for food. He wasn't here for warmth. He was here to finish what he started years ago. And in that moment, as lightning illuminated his scarred face, Eleanor realized something far worse than betrayal, humiliation, or heartbreak. The man wasn't just a stranger. He was family. The stranger's hand slid into his coat, pulling out a knife glinting under the candlelight. Choose, Eleanor, he whispered. Come with me, or everyone in this room will burn like they did that night. The candles flickered violently, some extinguishing in bursts of smoke. The storm outside seemed to answer his words, a flash of lightning striking the spire above. Eleanor froze, her breath shallow, her mind racing. The guests' cries echoed in her ears, but in the chaos, her eyes fell on something. The crucifix on the altar. Her father's words echoed in her head. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid, Ellie. It means you stand when fear tells you to run. Her hands trembled, but she moved. Slowly, deliberately, she reached for the heavy brass crucifix. The stranger tilted his head, smiling like he was watching a child play. You think that will stop me? Eleanor gripped it tight. Her voice shook, but it was clear. No, but it will slow you down. And with all her strength, she swung. The crucifix struck his temple with a sickening crack. The knife clattered to the marble floor as the stranger stumbled, blood running down his face. The guests screamed. Some rushed to the doors again, but this time, they burst open. The storm howled in, extinguishing the last of the candles. In the chaos, Eleanor ran, her gown tangling around her feet, her bouquet forgotten. She didn't stop to look back until she was outside in the rain. The church loomed behind her, its windows glowing with flickers of lightning. Inside, she could hear the man's roar of rage. He wasn't dead, he wasn't finished, and deep inside, Eleanor knew this was only the beginning. 6 months later, Eleanor had left her small town behind, moving into a city where no one knew her name. She cut her hair, found work in a bookstore, and lived quietly in a tiny apartment. Every night she double-locked her doors, checked the windows, and kept a kitchen knife under her bed. And still, she dreamed of him. The scarred face, the fire in his eyes, the promise, one day, when you least expect it, I'll come again. One rainy evening, Eleanor closed the bookstore early. As she turned the key, she noticed something on the glass door. A slip of paper. Her hands shook as she peeled it off. 5 words, written in the same jagged ink as before. You can't hide forever. Her breath caught. The street was empty, but she felt eyes on her, watching from the shadows. She ran upstairs, locking the door behind her, but the silence of her apartment felt heavier than ever. At midnight, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Static filled her ear, then a voice, low and calm. Hello, Eleanor. Her blood froze. I told you I'd come back. You took something from me. Now, I'll take everything from you. The line went dead, and then she heard it, a soft tap 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 on her window. Her heart stopped. She lived on the 4th floor. Slowly, she turned. Outside, through the rain-smeared glass, a face pressed against the pane. Scarred, grinning. The stranger, alive, waiting. Eleanor's scream was swallowed by the storm.